are live. What's going on, everybody? Jeff Sharon along with Bryson Turner. Welcome to the new Night Shift Live. We are coming to you, for those of you listening on our podcast feed, we are recording this at 9 Eastern Time on Tuesday, June 13th. Been out for the last couple weeks. Just kind of giving ourselves a little summer break to kind of recharge a little bit as we have plenty of, actually, lots of stuff to talk about. Some significant things to talk about in the meantime, and a little bit of news here and there that we want to chat about. Yours truly, Jeff Sharon, along with Bryson Turner here. Bryson, did you enjoy your brief time off? What's going on?
What time off?
Yeah, right.
So it was a really fun. Ever since Nick and I got back from Tampa, I've been just taking the time to just enjoy the summer before I start grad school in the fall. Eric and I have been working on a little something that we're hoping to get out pretty soon. So stay tuned for when we speak about that officially. But it's been fun working on that and just being able to not have to worry about school for a couple of months before I get back in the rat race.
Amen to that. We have so here's the deal. We're doing this live, as you guys know. I want to this summer we're going to try and experiment with some things. Whole new summer for UCF, right? And we're trying to do that here as well. As you guys know, we moved the podcast off of SB Nation's feed, although we're still publishing it. We're still publishing on SB Nation, our regular stuff. But what we're going to do is I'm going to try and do one live show a week. And when we do that, put it on our podcast feed. But at the very least, this will enable you guys to give us some send us some questions, and please do. Right now we're live on our Facebook account, on our Facebook page, I should say. We're live on YouTube and we're live on Twitter as well. So if you've got any questions, make sure you send them within the comments, of course, and we'll get them. And if they're good, we'll read them live on. I was going to say on the air, but live over the web, and go from there. But in the meantime, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. Starting off with the big news, the biggest news from UCF over the past 2 weeks. We got a new baseball coach, and it's a guy who UCF fans are very familiar with, especially got folks who are my age and maybe a little bit older. Rich Wallace is coming back to UCF. For those of you who don't remember, Rich actually played at UCF from 2000 to 2002. I was lucky enough, funny story, Bryson, I was lucky enough back in my freshman year, fall 01, spring 02, I actually called baseball games for the on-campus radio station WNSC, and that was Rich's last year. I think I've lost those tapes. I don't know where they are, but I'm pretty sure I got some Rich Wallace highlights up in there somewhere. If I find them, maybe I'll listen to them and see what I got. But Rich comes over from Florida State. Last year he was an assistant coach there, also recruiting coordinator. He's had a fantastic coaching career. Of course, when he stopped playing at UCF, Jay Bergman hired him as an assistant right away as a graduate student, and he becomes the first alumnus to be a UCF alum to be named the head coach of a men's sport at UCF. Women's soccer has had an alum being their head coach, and of course Laura Smith was an alum and on the '78 volleyball team, and she coached UCF to a number of conference championships. Of course, that was back in the '90s. Rich has had a fantastic coaching career. He was at Notre Dame for a notable period of time. For 3 years, right when Notre Dame was really peaking too, Bryson. He was key to that. Went to the Super Regionals twice, went to Omaha for the third time in school history, was also known for his acumen as a hitting coach. It was always gratifying to us to see to see a UCF alum, see success. And I know, like, the selfish part of me is always like, oh, it's kind of cool to have an alum come in and coach. But you always kind of wonder, like, yeah, everyone wants the alums to come in, but you also are mindful of, like, at every program there's kind of a bubble, right? And we were talking about this, I think, in regards to Mackenzie Milton being taking an assistant coaching job at Tennessee. It's in sports, it's important, and I think this is true in coaching as well as in other staff departments. Wherever you start at, it's important to kind of once you get your start, once you've started as a grad assistant or whatever, it's important to then get out of the bubble and go get new ideas and see newer ways of doing things and figure those things out. And then you come back to your alma mater and you bring those new ideas and you kind of build upon that. And that's how things, I think, really blossom. I think this is true in coaching as well as, marketing, communications, everywhere. And Rich has had a good 15 years outside of UCF at 4 or 5 different schools. High Point, Creighton, obviously Notre Dame, Florida State. He worked at Jacksonville for a while under Chris Hayes, and I think it has been around quite a bit enough in order to see, like, he's not too tight within the UCF bubble. He's bringing some new ideas to the fore. And obviously one thing, again, is an old hat. It was really a lot of fun to see all the old guys from the 2001-02 team, providing their support. And he got some support from Joe Sheridan too, remember, who tweeted out his congratulations to Rich. Joe is obviously currently the interim head baseball coach at Siena. Played his last, I believe, one season at Notre Dame when Rich was there. And 2 Notre Dame guys, or two UCF guys over at Notre Dame baseball, not too bad. But you were at the presser, Bryson. Describe for us, the atmosphere, what we saw, what we didn't see in the front of the camera when Rich and of course Mark Daniels and Terry Mahajer were talking. It felt like a different kind of a much different kind of energy because this was one of our own coming home.
It felt like a family reunion, if I'm being honest with you. It's one of those, not like a family reunion where the family is very, it's not like a hyper family type thing. It's just everyone just kind of like, enjoying being around each other. And I think that's what that Rich sort of brings to the program. So funny story, I looked as I am inclined to do sometimes, I look at the record books that UCF keeps for all the sports, and Rich Wallace still holds the title of being hit by a pitch the 5th most times in UCF history, which of course comes right after Tom Jostin, who gets hit by pitches a lot, leaves, which I found very funny. And to see all of these, former UCF players come in. I saw Ben McCabe also around in the back as well. So we're seeing some support from some of the most recent departed players as well. D Brown was there, so that was awesome to see as well. And we had other coaches as well. Satia Messer, I saw Gus Malzahn was there as well. Sidney Ball Malone I saw was there. So I think that it was very much a family reunion in many ways. And I think that if there was a way for this to go well, this changeover to go well, I think this is the right one. And I haven't really spoken too much on this because I was waiting for an opportunity like this one to do. And when Greg Lovelady left, or when he got dismissed, it felt like there wasn't really a lot of good answers to the criticisms of the Lovelady era for a couple of reasons. One is obviously we have not made a tournament since 2017. That is a problem. The issue is, how do you address that? Because several seasons, you can argue this baseball team has been very snake bit a lot these past few years. They were the last team out. in 18 and 19. They had a great season going in 2020 before the season got cut short. And then pitching injuries hampered them in 21 and 22. So you cannot deny that there has been talent on this team. We've seen so many athletes get drafted from this team. Ben McCabe is the all-time home run king. Andrew Sundin has been one of the most hot start of a freshman I've seen in a while. And Cameron Leiter and Drew Farrow had great freshman seasons as well. So the question that I think that a lot of people at UCF were probably asking is it worth continuing with Lovelady to see what this young talent that is very much there develops into, but risk this kind of string of good but not great, because Lovelady never had a sub 30 win season, which isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. And so
the UCF could easily have gotten to the NCAA tournament at least another 3 times with Lovelady, if you're talking about a couple bounces here and there. It's like and I've thought this before with coaches. It's like, how many angels can you bounce on the head of a pin? Sometimes it's it's but that's the nature of the business, and I mean, everyone knows that. But yeah, it's. The thing I was encouraged by, obviously this is Rich's first head coaching job. There was the Joe Girardi flirtation there for a little bit, which made some national headlines. The New York Post reported that Girardi actually turned the job down. Look, I'm a Yankee fan. Okay, I know that would have been cool, but I also know I'm a UCF fan, and we've seen what happens when guys go from majors to college. Like, look at what happened with Eric Wedge at Wichita State. That did not go very well. I'm not saying that would have been the case with Joe, but I'm glad that that UCF brought in a guy with experience in the college game who has been a well-regarded assistant for a long period of time. Rich has been ready to be a head coach for a long time. I think that this is actually well overdue for him to be a head guy.
Well, the 2024 season is going to mark the 20th anniversary of his first season as a coach. The school that gave him his start as a coach is now going to give him his first head coaching job, and I find that honestly kind of beautiful in a way. And you speak about Girardi, and I think that one thing that I've noticed a lot of, and people talk about this in terms of football coaches as well, but I think it's really valuable of other sports, is I think the UCF fans really want to have a coach that is willing to be on for the long haul. I think that's kind of that general mentality that a lot of UCF fans, I'm sure a lot of UCF alums as well, desire in a head coach. And with Joe Girardi, sure, you're going to make the splash hire and make a lot of, and I think there are certain benefits of a Girardi name could have had, but I think it would be sacrificing short-term gain for a potential long-term loss. Plus, there's also the fact that Rich obviously is on the younger side in terms of a head coach, and Girardi has been coaching for a very long time. So what you mentioned, bringing fresh new ideas, and Rich Wallace can do just that. And like I mentioned before, like when Lovelady left and it got dismissed, and so the no good options. And I think Rich being is the best option because it's something that everyone can rally around. It's something that the players can rally around. It's something that the alums can rally around. I think this is the most least divisive choice you can do, and if he succeeds, he's going to be here for a long time. And then if he doesn't succeed, then at least that's a change. At least it's a change from the era of we're good enough to do it, but we just aren't making it. And Rich Wallace, if anything, knows how to get to Omaha because he's been there before. He got married out there. I saw that video.
That's right, at Rosenblatt Stadium before they moved the World Series out of there, right?
Right. So, and by the way, what's funny is I didn't know this until later, but I actually ended up sitting next to his family at the front row of the press conference. And it was there that I learned that he named his daughters after bat companies, Easton and Max with 2 H's, and that with 2 X's. If that does not say that you love the game,
that's baseball, dude.
Then I don't know what does. So
that's a baseball guy,
right? So Rich, I think that if this press conference really showed us anything, is that everyone is behind this baseball program. Everyone values the long-term success of this baseball program. And I think Rich Wallace is probably the best hire to ensure that kind of long-term success, while at the same time breaking free from the good but not great of, or falling short of the past few years. This program needed a change, and I think Rich Wallace is the type of change that is very welcome. Joe Girardi is a change, but it's a very, unsure type of change. Like, all right, this is interesting. I mean, it could be good, maybe not. Let's see how it goes. But with Rich, it's like, yeah, I like this guy. I like this.
That was my sense too. Let's listen to a little bit of Rich from his press conference, courtesy of you, Bryson Turner.
Last year in the World Series, up until the World Series, we played Texas Tech in the regional, Oklahoma and Texas in the College World Series. So I got to see the difference there, just the level of athleticism and the talent in the Big 12. If you are challenging to win the Big 12, you will be in the NCAA tournament. You will probably have a chance to host an NCAA tournament. If you can do that in the Big 12, you're going to have a chance to win that regional tournament. And we can get a super regional in this field. I'll take the 2 out of 3 and get this thing where we need to go.
Rich, Jason Beatty with the Orlando Sentinel again. You mentioned you want to recruit Orlando at the high school level, but what's your philosophy around the NCAA transfer portal?
I think the transfer portal is real. It's extremely helpful. I think you're using the transfer portal to fill immediate needs. We're going to recruit elite high school players and build our program around that. And if we need to supplement out of the transfer portal, we will. But it's real, it helps, and it's not going away.
Coach, I look around the room and I see a lot of familiar faces, a lot of guys you played with through the years, a lot of guys driving 2-3 hours just to be here for this press conference. What does that support mean to you, and what has that outpouring of support been like?
I mean, it's unbelievable. The texts, the phone calls from you guys, the support getting to this point, I couldn't have asked for more. And somebody, I think Mark asked me what UCF meant to me. And to me, UCF baseball, first and foremost, is family. And the bond that those guys have, whether I coached you, whether I played with you, or if you're just in this baseball community in Central Florida, it's special, it's real, and it means a lot, and I appreciate that, guys.
It's just day one, but set some fan expectations with this move into the Big 12. What do fans expect in your first year?
I'm hoping that we play a brand of baseball that's aggressive, fundamentally sound, and that our alumni can look out there and go, I know what's going on. They got a plan, and they're going to execute it, and we'll get this thing rolling sooner rather than later.
Coach, when you left UCF in 2008, what is the difference between that man that first left UCF to go to High Point and to the Rich Wallace we say today returning home?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and most coaches will probably tell you this, is it was 10 years ago, I had children, and my outlook on coaching was so much wins and losses till that point. We had Easton and Max, and you become a dad, and you look at this, I mean, those guys on that team are going to be my kids. I'm going to love them. We're going to figure this thing out together. It's a family. And that, when you were born, Easton, that's kind of that switch.
Rich, Matt Rochelle from the Orlando Sentinel. You walk in, you walk on campus again. What kind of your favorite memories? What kind of memories come to you about your experience here at UCF, and what stood out to you?
Favorite memory? I mean, I'll give a funny story for somebody at UCF. Like the first time we walked on this field in the fall of 2000, we walked down there and the dugouts were about 3 feet too short. We couldn't get out. You know, remember that? And to knock that down, we practice outside, and then to see where this thing is now, it's unbelievable. The moments on this field that were championship moments, from the 2000 team to not the 2001 team, the 2002 team that Guys, we lost that game to Delaware. But were you on that team? You're a freshman, right? We lost a game to Delaware here, and we had to clean the stands up with trash bags by ourselves in uniform. I think we started off 0-3 in the Atlantic Sun Conference and went on a run that you wouldn't believe, and won the league and the tournament. Just those moments with those guys stand out to me the most.
So that was Rich Wallace, new UCF head baseball coach, courtesy of Bryson at his introductory press conference the other day. Before we move on, Bryson, and I want to give everybody a chance to ask their questions as well. Send them to us on our YouTube channel and also on Facebook and here on StreamYard as well. We'll get those questions and answer them for you. And any comments that you have, we'll put them up there as well. So what is the biggest order of business right now, Bryson, that Rich has to handle now that he's ensconced? Obviously, he's going to be putting together and his staff, his assistants, and everybody else. But what's the biggest thing that he's got to get done here right off the bat, so to speak?
Well, as far as assistants, I would say he definitely needs to reintegrate himself again with recruiting. I imagine he's always kind of kept his eye on Central Florida a little bit whenever he was out and about throughout his coaching journey in the 15 years since he left UCF in 2008. But now it's time to really kind of get back and entrenched with the area, because he mentioned he really wants to put a lot of value on high school recruits. He mentioned, first it's Orlando area proper, then the I-4 corridor, and then the whole state. So I think that's a very interesting kind of step process there, where you start with the general Orlando area, then you see the cities and schools along I-4, and then you get to the rest of the state. So when we start to see some of the UCF baseball players that start to come in here, you can start to kind of see okay, so now we're starting to see the type of recruit that Rich Wallace prioritizes in terms of recruiting. But of course, he also mentions about the transfer portal, and it'll be very interesting to see how he handles that, especially this time, because he's coming in after the transferring out of Cam Leiter, Drew Farrow, and Jacob Marlowe in a move that from the outset almost looks like an unintentional self-sabotage, considering they all went to his former school at FSU before he came here. It's not. It's that he got the job. But it'll be very interesting to see how he will deal with those, because that means the shortstop position is going to be open. It means that there's definitely going to be a lot of pitching that he's going to need to work through as well. Pitching has obviously been a key issue with this program a lot these past few years. And while I think the health aspect of it, because that was the issue in 2001 and 21 and 22, was the health of the pitching staff. Now in 2023, the health issue has been addressed, and now it's about just getting a very good and consistent pitching. And I think that Rich Wallace, as long as he hires a good pitching coach to go with it, then I think that we have some good to go with that. And it'll be interesting to see who he brings in with the transfer portal, because obviously with the new additions, I think that in year one is probably the year where he might need to lean on the transfer portal a little more, because he has to make up for people he lost that were lost in the transfer portal after the Lovely department.
All right. Well, congrats to Rich. I'm glad again to see Rich come back. I know a lot of folks who are probably watching this feed are also pretty happy to see Rich come back. I'm excited to see what he does with his staff too. I think that's going to be pretty interesting. And I think people forget this also. Rich is he's an Orlando kid. He went to Bishop Moore too, so he's pretty steeped in Central Florida's baseball community, and not just UCF's, right? I mean, so that's pretty. That's going to be a big boost. But the fact, I think, doing that combined with the fact that he was an outstanding recruiter for Notre Dame, outstanding for Florida State, and all the other places that he was at, tremendous. All right, let's move on a little bit to a little bit different topic. By the way, it's going to be Black and Gold Banner at awards time pretty soon, because we just finished up the last sporting event of the 2022-23 academic / athletic year with the track and field national championships. Two Knights came away from the nationals in Austin with All-America honors. Of course, Rayniah Jones marks this is, by the way, according to UCF, the fourth straight year, 2020, of course, notwithstanding because it was canceled, fourth straight year that UCF has either a first or second team All-American since Dana Boone took over. Asherah Collins and Rayniah Jones earning All-American honors for UCF. But let's go and give us a quick recap. And also, we're going to bring in Nick Porcelli here as well, our resident track and field expert. Nick is in the house right now.
What's up, guys?
And we had, as we look at track and field, Nick and Bryson, I want you to sort of start out, at least at first. Looks like I'm having a little bit of trouble with Nick, but that's okay. That's the nature of live television. But Rayniah, I think, was obviously was the big draw coming in. How'd she perform in the nationals, and how did UCF's athletes overall perform, at least according to what we were thinking might happen with the team out in Austin?
I think they performed, I would say, relative to what I thought they were going to do. One good way to sort of gauge how they would perform in the nationals is where did they finish in the East preliminary? Did they barely make it? Were they for sure going to make it? And I think for the most part, I think they did roughly about what was expected of them. The 4x100 team ended up having a little bit of an error during theirs, which was unfortunate.
They had a DNF,
right? So a little bit of a mistake with the handoff. Unfortunately, that's kind of the nature of the relay. Sometimes that happens. You also have Jasmine Scott Kilgo, who managed to sneak her way into the championship in the long jump, her first ever NCAA championship. And, I think it was a victory for her just to go out on a high note as far as her career is concerned. So that was cool to see her there. Rayniah Jones making it in 3 different events. She ran in the 4x1, the 100-meter dash, and the 100-meter hurdle. So the fact she made it in multiple events like that is definitely, I think, a step up for her in terms of what she's done previously. Unfortunately, I think that in the 100-meter hurdles, which I believe came, after the 100-meter dash, something like that, it showed, I think, that Rayniah Jones was running in her second race in a short amount of time, because Rayniah ended up finishing 9th in that final. But she did make it back to the final for her 3rd straight year, joining the likes of Jackie Coward and Ariel Scott, who are the only ones to ever do that. So Rayniah Jones is certainly in great company right there, and getting second team All-American in the 100-meter hurdles is a solid way to end her season, especially when it was like the fastest race in the history of the thing, if I recall hearing right. I mean, Messiah Russell, Leah Armstrong, Akira Nugent, they were just quick as heck out there. And seeing Kayla Harris managed to make it to the 100-meter hurdles as well. Honorable mention, great job for her. But I think that the biggest story out of this track and field is Asherah Collins and the triple jump. Last season I was already impressed with the progress that she made in terms of jumping in the rankings, where she got a slightly better jump than she did in her previous year, but gone up about 6-7 spots. Well, this time she set a new program record in the triple jump while managing to get into 10th place. She was so close, so close to making it to the final, which only has the top 9 spots. And Eric and I were talking about this. The reason why it's the top 9 and not the top 10 is because it coincides with the 9 lanes on a track. So
here's that. Forgive me, Bryson. Here's that program record triple jump by Asherah. 44 feet, 2.75 inches. That's that's almost, if you think about this, half of a basketball court. Regulation basketball court's 94 feet. So 45, 47 feet from half court to the baseline. This is 3 strides. Boom. Amazing. Congrats to Asherah, man. That's wild, man.
Yeah.
And to do so, as we've seen, we'll get Nick Porcelli in here in just a second. To do that at the NCAAs, regardless of where she finished in the nation, that shows that she's been peaking. So let's get Nick in here real quick to talk about what he saw from track and field as well. And like we said, it was the sprinters that were able to handle things for UCF, Nick. But I'm with Bryson on this. I mean, Asherah Collins to me was the highlight with the program record in the triple jump. And then, of course, Rayniah competing in 3 events. Like, that's really something. I think, tremendous credit to the athletes because, as a distance runner, it's hard. It's not always you just go out there and go, right? You have to be peaking at the exact right time.
100%. Like, you don't want to peak in some random practice. You want to give your best every time you come out on the track. So, and I've been there when that moment where you think you can do this and you just miss out, that hurts like a lot.
Yeah.
But that regardless, they still had an amazing performance. All of them, like you said, I think Collins, she was the best player or best athlete on the of the event. Obviously, I think Rayniah Jones is going to get a little more attention because she's the bigger name, but I was a lot more impressed with Asherah, especially considering, I mean, like Bryson said, she was really close for moving on to the finals. Like,
yeah,
what was it, like 2 centimeters or something off? Like, how close was she?
It was
tight.
It was close.
It was. I think if I remember, Glenn's as her coach, the jumps coach for the team is Glenn Smith. I believe he tweeted about this. Right afterwards. I believe it came down to 2 centimeters. Yes, 2 centimeters.
Yeah, 2 centimeters.
Oh,
so yeah,
doing it. But
that's
that's how close it was. But the thing, what's amazing is that she lowered the program record coming in. The program record by Asherah Collins was 13.30 meters coming in. She lowered the program record by about 0.18 meters, which I calculated out to about 7 inches. She did that in one go in this one. To see Nick, and let me know if I'm right about this. The name of the game with track and field is steady but constant improvement, and I think that no athlete this season has better demonstrated that than Asherah Collins.
Yeah, no, that's 100% what it is. I'll tell you what. I just hope like we keep saying, this close. I hope that doesn't beat her up. Like, she did an incredible job, and she should feel nothing but pride in her performance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I watched the track and field. It's the closest thing to the Olympics that you have in college. I just love the track and field, and it was remarkable to see like how these athletes had continued to perform at their absolute best. So when the bannies come around, I think we're going to be having some Asherah Collins and Rayniah Jones talk over the course of the next month. All right,
really hard all year. It's another great year for the female athletes, Jeff.
Yeah, and sure, it's fantastic heading into the Big 12, which is tremendous, absolutely tremendous. Speaking of the women's teams, a few news and notes that we wanted to get out there. Over on the volleyball side, of course, Jenny Maurer, new head coach of UCF volleyball, signed in. First of all, she hired her 2 assistants. Joining her will be Michaela Franklin, who's named an associate head coach under Jenny. Franklin comes over from USF. She was an associate head coach there for 1 year. Prior to that, she was the head coach at Clemson from 2017 to 2020. Was also instrumental to, she got Clemson from a 7-25 record in her first season to 19-15 in her third. And then she also, prior to that, coached at Iowa, Wisconsin, Green Bay as well. And was an assistant at Marquette and NIU prior to that. Also, Jason Tanaka joins the staff. He's a veteran college volleyball coach, 25 years in the business, and he's got some Big 12 ties. He coached previously at Baylor and TCU. Also coached at SMU. By the way, 13 years at TCU. That's as an associate head coach and recruiting coordinator. And we were talking about, I think earlier, he solidifies that sort of Big 12 Texas recruiting, piece that I think UCF is going to need going forward. And we saw part of that too with UCF getting 3 recent signees. Britt Carlson, who comes over from Woodbury, Minnesota. She's originally from Woodbury, Minnesota. She comes over from Washington State, so Pac-12 to Big 12. 6'4", outside and opposite hitter. Fantastic size. Megan Holland, originally from Nazareth, Pennsylvania, transfers over from South Carolina. And a foreign player coming in, Doga Okal. Forgive me, Doga, if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. I promise I'll get it right in the fall. 6'2", outside hitter from Antalya, Turkey. By the way, I didn't mention the size of Megan Holland from South Carolina. She's a 6'4" middle blocker. Bryson, the one thing we've been saying all the time is when we move over from the American to the Big 12 in volleyball, it's going to be size. And guess what? Jenny's got some size.
She really, she has, with getting Megan Holland and Okal like that is very good for the future of the size of this program, because this if I would argue the biggest position that I think is nailed down going into the Big 12 from last season, it's middle blockers. You still have Abby Hansen and Claudia Dillon and both of I think that those two are very entrenched in the middle blocker space. But if you look, Megan Holland still has 3 years of eligibility after transferring from South Carolina, and then of course Okal coming in as a freshman. So you're really seeing, I think, Maurer really value that middle blocking, because she's really going to need that when it comes to the Big 12. And as far as the assistants go in all of this, I think that the fact that Maurer hired them really showcases how acknowledging of the fact that she wants to make sure she gets into the Big 12 and is able to compete with them, because of course Maurer has experience head coaching at Bradley, but the Big 12 is an entire different ball game from that. And so bringing in people like Tanaka, who have experience in that area is certainly extremely valuable to have there.
Yeah, it's now they're over on a European trip right now. They're going through Eastern Europe, at least at the moment. And to be honest with you, I can't think of a better situation, when you're going through a transition from, a 15-year head coach to a veteran of the staff, but still a new head coach, 2 new assistants, a bunch of new players. What better way to break the ice than go overseas? And I've been following them on the Twitter account. It's been pretty cool seeing what they've been doing. Playing some of the other teams out in Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europe. I think people forget this is a real tremendous hotbed for volleyball. A lot of players come over to the United States from Eastern Europe, and this will also, I think, help to hopefully get some recruiting ties out there too. UCF has been reluctant, I think, in the last couple of years to go for a lot of foreign players, especially certainly not as much as like we saw some programs. Like I remember, was it Tulane several years ago in the American, Bryson, man, they had a lot of players from outside the United States. And a few other programs have gone that route too. You got to find the size somewhere. And if you can't find it stateside, you got to open up the international portal. And I think that's, I think that's actually been, that could be pretty interesting to see. So there you see Britt Carlson along with Megan and Doka right there.
Well, Doka as a prime example of why the international portal is a great idea, because you bring this one athlete over from Turkey, and this European tour can maybe open up the opportunities for other foreign athletes from Eastern Europe to come over as well. I know we had Israeli and Tali Marmon, I believe.
Tali Marmon, yeah.
Here.
Although she did come over from Rutgers, I think, before being at UCF.
Got it. And then as far as I'm getting to talk about Britt Carlson. Britt Carlson is the latest addition and what I've been seeing is Jenny Mauer's quest to fill that outside hitter position, because of course I think the big storylines going into this year in the Big 12 is it's going to be the first year without McKenna Melville, and the question is going to be how is UCF going to adjust without having a bell cow outside hitter that is able to just kill it every single time, and so far they've been addressing that by bringing in somebody in the short term like Lauren Clark, graduate student. She's transferring in for her last year of eligibility. You have Heidi Bondi, of course, who had a little bit of action last year. Then you have then you have Ocal, Ava Armour, freshman from Colorado, who signed earlier on, and now Britt Carlson. So I think we're starting to get a general idea of how Mauer is starting to approach this post-Melville offense that she's trying to incorporate, it both in the short term and in the long term.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It is a whole new era. Quick little comment dropped in from G-Dot on YouTube. Purdue also announced they're playing UCF volleyball this season, so we're stepping up the non-conference schedule this year, it seems. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see how that non-conference schedule shakes out. We've got the conference schedule. The non-conference schedule, it's in those first 3 to 4 weekends, you do see, and I'll pull up the schedule, the full schedule right here for you. You still see the non-conference tournaments, and those haven't been announced yet. Right now, all we have is the Big 12 openers, all the way through down to Kansas on the 25th. First home match is going to be first home match against Oklahoma. That is absolutely wild, man. But I'll double check. But if that's Purdue, that's going to be a lot of fun. That's always going to be, and that's one of the things that's going to be the tricks. One of the tricks with scheduling. We talked about this with Todd Dagenais before, and that's going to be another trick for Jenny is setting up that non-conference schedule. Although it's not quite going to be the minefield that it used to be in the American, where you had to load up on the out-of-conference schedule because you knew that your RPI was going to take a hit when you got to the conference and you're playing teams that were ranked in the 200s. So, when you're playing the likes of, Oklahoma, West Virginia, Kansas State, Baylor, TCU, BYU, and Texas, like Texas national championship team, or caliber team at least heading into next year, the RPI is going to more or less take care of itself. So yeah, I mean, it does make UCF a pretty attractive team to play in non-conference. I'm going to be interested to see, who else UCF pulls up as we keep an eye on the schedule. Jeff, Sharon, Bryson Turner, Nick Porcelli here with you. There is, there it is, Boilermaker Challenge. So that's at Purdue. Who else is there? USC.
USC is there as well, and Illinois' volleyball schedule is dropped as well, and Illinois is going to be there as well, taking on UCF on September 14th at 3 p.m. Central Time. So it looks like the first information is starting to trickle in one of the first non-conference tournaments UCF volleyball will be at.
So we don't know this for sure.
This is based on the opponent's schedule.
This is based on the opponent's schedule. UCF hasn't announced it. So wow, a little bit of breaking news right here on our very first Night Shift Live. So Purdue on the non-conference slate, Illinois on the non-conference slate, and of course we mentioned USC is in there. Well, it looks like in the Purdue tournament everybody only plays 2, so I don't think USC and UCF are going to play, which is kind of a bummer. But you see that, because you see they're only playing twice.
Yes, you see it is listed here because this Illinois matchup is listed as September 14th at 3 p.m. Central Time, And then there is and then Purdue is listing it September 14th at 7 p.m. So either there is
double header. Oh man.
So it could be so UCF could be playing twice in just one day, or maybe they'll be playing 3 and some are playing 2. We'll see what happens when the UCF volleyball non-conference schedule officially drops. But based on what we're seeing from these announcements from Purdue and Illinois, at least we're starting to get maybe getting an idea of what that non-conference schedule will be once UCF announces it.
Typically, we won't see, 1 or 2 teams play more games than 2 other teams at a preseason tournament. Everyone's going to play the same. So that's why I was saying earlier, I don't know if we're going to play SC, but Purdue and Illinois, I'll take it. I'll take that definitely.
It's certainly. I think it'd certainly be a very good way to get this program used to the type of opponent that they'll be facing in the Big 12, because Illinois and Purdue, I mean, that's Big 10. They take their volleyball pretty seriously over there in the Big 10, and so I think that going into Big 10 country is going to be a very good sort of preview for what the type of program that they could see in the Big 12. So I think and considering that the gauntlet that they're going to have to face in the Big 12, especially once you get to the end of the season. I remember when we broke the schedule down several weeks back, that the gauntlet was going to be coming kind of at the end. And so I think it makes a lot of sense. You start with a gauntlet to get you ready. Then you have that that middle part of the season where maybe the matchups aren't as strong on paper. Obviously, you never want to take them for granted, but you have that. You then are able to work. You have matches where you can kind of work kinks out. You can kind of work out the kinks, see what works and what doesn't, and that way you'll be able to peak at the right time when you get to the conference. When you get to the gauntlet at the end of the schedule, where the opponents coming are like national championship level.
Yeah. Purdue's RPI last year, by the way, 27. They were 20-10 last year. Illinois was 15 and get this, they were 15-15 and 83rd. So that gives you an idea of what you're playing with in the Big 10. Just for reference's sake, UCF in the American 17th in the RPI when the last RPI came out. All right. Couple other things we want to talk about. So we got, you mentioned, Nick, the NBA draft is coming up, and we are going to be keeping an eye. It'll be next Thursday, not this coming Thursday. It'll be next Thursday, which make it the 22nd. Second? Okay. So I'm getting old. But Taylor Hendricks has kept his name in. Totally understandable, because when you look at some of the mocks, Nick Porcelli, Taylor Hendricks is getting some serious play in the lottery. We thought we were thinking he could be in the lottery, but I was looking at NBADraft.net, man, and he's going to go in the top 10, maybe as high as 5th is some of the places that we've been seeing. What have you been seeing out there?
Yeah, same thing as you. He's popping up everywhere. Like, I'm a Magic fan. I'm just, they like to hype up who they might draft.
He might not get to the Magic at 6.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, the Pacers are looking at him. You'd had a workout with them, all that. I mean, I'll tell you what. You have to be a very hyped up prospect for the NBA to literally invite you to the draft so that you can walk up on the stage, shake the commissioner's hand, and hold up your new jersey. And he's gotten that invite. You have to be very good to get that invite.
Yeah. Here's NBADraft.net. They have him ranked as the number 5 overall player out of the top 100 prospects. I want to bring up the mock draft here. Let's see. NBADraft.net's mock draft looks at where
the highest I've seen him getting picked in any mock draft that I've looked at is 11th.
They had him down to 12 at Oklahoma City. So I don't know if the Magic would pass on him twice. I would hope not. I would love for him to stay in Orlando.
For reference,
interestingly enough,
there have only been 2 NBA draft players that have been drafted in the UCF players that have been drafted in the NBA in history. Benny Shaw was selected in the 9th round of the 1976 draft to Milwaukee. And
Dr. Benny Shaw, that's right.
and then Jermaine Taylor went
anymore.
and then Jermaine Taylor went in the second round with a 32nd overall pick to the Washington Wizards. So Taylor Hendricks is really blazing a new trail right here for UCF men's basketball players.
He would be the first ever lottery pick in the history of the program.
That's what I was going to say. Forget getting drafted. He's going to be a lottery pick.
Yeah,
like that's incredible.
And the money that comes with it. Now let me ask each of you guys, where would you, the Magic notwithstanding, because let's just assume that, and where would you like to see him go? Where would you like to see him go? And I want to get everybody's thoughts in the comments too. Where would they like to see Taylor go? Where do they think he's going to go? And where do you guys think he's going to go? Bryson, I want to start with you.
So maybe I remember, I'll say this. I had the Indiana Pacers were really showing him on their social media account a good bit when I think he visited the place recently. So I think that if Orlando passes on him at number 6, then I think the Indiana Pacers are looking to take him at number 7, which I think would be a very good fit for him. I mean, the Pacers social media has just been going over a lot with college basketball players at the moment, but the fact that they showcase Taylor Hendricks on there with how much that he's been, how highly he's been projected to go, I think that the Pacers could be very interesting. I was talking with one of my friends who he's a Denver Nuggets fan, so I called him last night to congratulate him on his team winning the NBA Finals. And I actually asked him about this and like, where do you think Taylor Hendricks is going to go? And he thinks he's going to go to the Pistons. So I think that I think that more than likely we'll probably see Hendricks go somewhere between 5 and 7 on the draft list, I think.
Nick?
Well, obviously, I'd love for him to go to Orlando, not just because that's my team, but also because, he's still in the community. He might, show up at some UCF events. That'd be fun. Where do I think he would go? Like Bryson said, it's popped up a lot on the Pacers social media, so clearly they're high on him. So I think he'd go to the Pacers. But I don't know if you guys remember, one place that he was rumored to go a lot, and even though I feel like there is a chance he could get picked way before this, I think the Mavericks could take him.
Yeah, 10. Yeah. There's something about I just have a feeling about like 9, 10, right?
Yeah.
Like there's something about Utah, Dallas. I don't see him getting past those two teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Utah or Dallas. He's either going to be a Mav or he's going to be a Jazz.
The one, I mean, I think if he's there at 11, the Magic would probably at least could definitely take him at 11. I just don't think that they would take him at 6 because they probably have a need, like right now this consensus mock on NBADraft.net has them getting All-Star Thompson, who is a shooting guard, and they do need backcourt. I think they do need a little bit more backcourt help. 100%. And the other thing is like Taylor Hendricks is listed as a 6'9" power forward, and they just got a 6'10" power forward with the number 1 overall pick last year, and he's pretty good in Paolo Banchero. So, it's that's hard. I think if they take him at 11, they're thinking, do they make him a stretch 3? Or do they try him at center and go small? I don't know. I
don't know.
I just don't know what the fit is. You know what I mean?
Well,
I've seen so many people that'll be like, positions are dead. Like Nikola Jokic,
fair,
but he doesn't play like it. So I don't know. Like,
well, he kind of does. Let's be honest. He's a big, huge 7-foot tall guy, and as a, he uses his body as we've seen the last, over the season.
He just wants to go home to his horses.
Well, I mean,
don't blame him.
It's funny because I brought up the Pistons earlier, and I'm looking at their roster right now. And I mean, again, it is early, but look at what NBA Draft is projected to take them. The NBA Draft is projecting the Pistons to take this 6'7" small forward out of Villanova. Right? If they were to select
Cam Whitmore,
if they were to select Taylor Hendricks, Taylor Hendricks would be the third tallest person on their team after their 6'11" center Jalen Duran and then 6'10" power forward Marvin Bagley. So if Hendricks wants to, so if the Pistons want to try to get some more height on their team, then I think Hendricks might end up being like a really good player for them to do that with.
He might go back to back with the guy who he faced up against twice this year, Jarris Walker out of Houston. Who do you think goes first, Taylor or Walker?
It's close. I think it's a coin flip, honestly. The one thing I want to know is, and I feel like this gets
Walker strikes me as more of a center. I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're fine. The one thing, I feel like we pay less attention to this compared to its NFL counterpart, but I want to know how Hendricks did in the draft combine, because I feel like right after that, that's when he really started to jump up the draft boards. So, like, he must have had a good showing out there.
It's kind of hard to say. I think a lot of that information
is covered, right?
Well, yeah, it's not as heavily covered as the NFL combine certainly is. I mean, and the teams are going to come up with their own evaluations anyway, because it's not nearly as structured as the NFL is.
Right.
So that's my thought. Anyway, we're going to be wrapping up here in a little bit as we finish up the last few minutes. We want to go about an hour tonight. We'll go a little bit longer. We got a couple things that we wanted to mention. Bryson, you had a couple of news nuggets that you wanted to drop just real quick. About women's basketball having a new assistant coach, and also a couple of transfers in football and men's basketball.
Indeed. So with the women's basketball team, it was announced on June 5th that Tennille Adams is going to be taking assistant job over at Alabama. So which made some sense when on June 1st. The program announced that they brought on a new assistant coach in Chandler McCabe, who is coming to UCF from George Mason after turning that program from going 10-19 and 3-2 in conference play to 16-15 and 8-8 in league action in just two seasons. So that I think that this is another step up right there. McCabe also was an associate head coach and recruiting coordinator at Bethune-Cookman for 7 seasons. So this is gonna bring her back to the Central Florida area. And I think pairing her with Greg Brown, who if people will remember, he was an assistant coach under Joy Williams before Coach Abe was here. I think between Brown and McCabe, I think this is a very good dynamic duo to recruit locally, which is definitely something that I think Coach Messer is really looking to do, because I think if one of the standout freshmen from last year's team was Orlando native Sierra Godbolt. So I think that bringing her in, I think is a sign, could be a sign from Messer that she wants to find, other Sierra Godbolts out there that are here locally in Orlando and bring them over to this women's basketball program that, is now going to try to work out the kinks of year one and going into year 2. So it'll be interesting to see where McCabe can take this program along with the rest of the coaching staff led by Satia Messer. Then we also have the new transfers. We talked about the volleyball transfers earlier. We mentioned the baseball transfer portal earlier, but of course the football and men's basketball transfer portal never quite rests, does it, Jeff? So well, especially now. Remember, we're in this part where, remember when everyone was panicking when everyone was announcing that they were going into the portal? Remember that? Mm-hmm. Now we're getting guys in, and the holes are starting to get filled. Now we knew that would be the slow part about it, but here we are. Yes. So on the men's basketball side, if you remember the last time we talked about the transfer portal in men's basketball, I mentioned that one thing I really wanted to see with the rest of the transfer portal is, can this team get some height? Because they have brought in 3 guards in Shamari Allen, Jalen Sellers, and Jaquan Walton, and only 1 forward in former Jacksonville forward Omar Payne. Well, they have some more height with former San Jose State center Ibrahima Diallo. He started in 35 games last year, went 88 of 150 from the court, got 210 boards and 58 blocks. So, he was actually at Ohio State before going to San Jose State. But I think that that's exactly what I was looking for the men's basketball program, because now you're able to get some hype, because again, you're going to be losing Taylor Hendricks, and so you got to be able to get some hype there to pair up with CJ Walker, who's going to be coming back after getting injured last season.
Let's take a look at a little Ibrahim Diallo here.
Ooh, highlights.
Not bad. Like the left hand.
He is the latest forward from UCF that comes to us from Senegal. His hometown is Sali, Senegal. UCF is really, ever since Taco Fall came here, UCF has been one to really to recruit a lot of Senegalese players to play here. And so I think it's
who's instrumental in that is Mamadou Ndiaye, the assistant coach. And because and he's been fantastic. He's been a real tremendous boost in helping UCF find big guys. He himself was a pretty doggone big guy as well. So, Ibrahim Diallo from San Jose State looks, knows how to finish. I think that's the one thing. That's one of the. Yeah, I mean that's the one thing. I always look for in a big guy is do they finish when they're underneath the hoop? I mean, obviously this is a highlight reel, but.
Just for
do you finish when you get the ball down low? Are you an automatic bucket? That's what I want to see.
Yeah. So that 58 blocks I told you about that Diallo had last year. You want to know who on the team was second in blocks for San Jose State?
Who?
His name was Omari Moore. He had 24.
Well, there you go.
So
rim protector, baby.
This guy. Yeah, I think that rim protection is definitely something they're going to need, and so that was another solid move in the transfer portal from Johnny Dawkins and the staff. We'll see what else they'll be able to see. But now we're starting to see those scholarship players play up again, and with how much changeover we see in men's basketball, I think we already have given Johnny Dawkins flowers a lot over the course of the last year, from how much he practically had to change over the whole team. And he did pretty darn well despite that. So I think that considering the people in the transfer portal we're seeing him get now, I think I think that this is looking very promising going forward. Then on the football side, we had some news today, the other day in terms of that. We have a new linebacker for us, in Sean Peterson Jr., who is going to be coming for his last season of eligibility after playing for Florida International. He was an all-CUSA honorable mention last year. He told 28 tackles, 8 of them were for a loss, leading the team, and 6 sacks. And what's interesting about him is that was his first season as a linebacker after playing years as a running back, which I find quite interesting. And considering who this football head coaching staff is, I'm almost looking for that one-trick play where he's going to run. But
that's Sean Peterson, by the way. This video from FIU. That's him. Running back to linebacker. Here's why I'm excited about Sean Peterson Jr. You ready for this? My man comes over from my alma mater, Nova High School in Davie, Florida. He was Broward County's leading rusher when he was a senior. If I'm not mistaken, he's the first Nova Titan to play football at UCF. A couple guys played baseball. But I'm excited. Sean Peterson. Now, his father, Sean Peterson Sr., was the offensive coordinator at Nova. So I do know that much. So I got it in here somewhere. Where is it? Here it is.
Well, now you know how I felt when Matt Lee was playing.
I got my
Wear that thing with pride. You are
Titan
really
pride up in here.
Really looking forward to calling that man's name in football season, aren't you?
I am going to go nuts when I hear Sean Peterson Jr. When I see Sean Peterson Jr. I'm all about it. Sean, welcome.
The fact that
go Titans.
The fact that Sean Peterson only totaled 28 tackles on the season, and yet he was tied for second on the team in 8 tackles for a loss, tells me it really shows, I think, how much speed plays into his role as a running back. He didn't tackle a lot, but when he did, it was usually for a loss. And the difference in sacks, the next guy after him on FIU last year in sacks got 3. Peterson got.
We should mention this is FIU you're talking about.
You're right. This is FIU we're talking about, but I think that, but again, I think that, he's coming over from being a running back, and the fact that he got as many tackles for a loss as he has, I think shows how much he can get from that, kind of mid defensive backfield into the offensive backfield to make a quick tackle.
By the way, if you want to update yourself on all of UCF's incoming transfers, and look at how many incoming transfers we have all of a sudden. Remember when this was barren earlier in the spring, Bryson? Well, great job by you of keeping up our transfer portal tracker on blackandgoldbanneret.com. I have it up right now. You can take a look at all the latest transfers, not just in football, but in all sports as well. Right there on blackandgoldbanneret.com. It's right there up on our homepage. Make sure you check it out. And in honor of our very own Kyle Nash, blackandgoldbanneret.com. That's where you want to be. Last little bit. All right. I don't want to go too long on this because it's purely speculation at this point, but it's interesting, like the college football realignment stuff is still kind of hanging around here, and we have and Pete Thamel was wrote a little bit earlier trying to update everybody on the Big 12, and could there be some more movement? I don't really know. Colorado still keeps on, they still keep talking about possibly Colorado, possibly the Four Corner Schools. Today's June 13th. We're recording this. 17 days is the 30th. First of the year is when when UCF officially joins the Big 12. And like we saw last year, guess when USC and UCLA announced that they were joining the Big 10? June 30th. So
I was in Pittsburgh. I still remember getting that news. I still remember.
Yeah. So there have been some rumblings about UConn, which that's obviously a basketball move. I don't know if that exactly fits with what Brett Yormark wants to do, but it's conference speculation at this point. I want to know what you guys think about this. Like,
Okay.
For like years, right? Ever since I came to UCF in the early 2000s, like I've been all in on like conference realignment news. And now that we're in the Big 12, I'm kind of like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
You ever notice that? It's like, I'm kind of like, you know what?
We made it.
We're here. We're here. Who else you want to bring in? Colorado? Okay, sure. Why not?
Oh.
UConn? All right, whatever. They have good basketball. San Diego State? Okay, yeah, sure. Why not? Arizona State? Cool. Phoenix is nice.
I'll tell you what, my dad and I love having these conversations, and just so you know, he's a Georgia Bulldog fan, so to kind of go,
where are they going?
Yeah, it gives you an idea though, because an idea of like where I'm coming from and where he's coming from whenever realignment is talked about. When you have schools like conferences like the Big 12, like Big 10 and the SEC getting a lot of the very like the biggest name brand programs in the country, the way I'm looking at it is that the Big 12 is trying to counteract that by want to do one of two things. One is quantity, because if you can't quantity, I think you got to make sure you get up to at least how much the Big 10 and the SEC have in terms of numbers. So I think they need to get up to 16 schools, and I believe that once Oklahoma and Texas leave, they'll be down to 14, which I think means which sounds to me, I think they bring in 2 more schools, being Colorado, UConn, or some other combination. But the other factor in all this is basketball. If the Big 12 needs to be able to sell itself on something, and if the SEC and the Big 10 are going to have an edge in football, then dang it, the Big 12 needs to get the edge in basketball, because they already have a very stellar basketball lineup, and UConn it has their football program independent, and I'm sure that UConn would still love to keep a high level of competition for their basketball program while having the resources for their football program, which, I mean, hey, Jim Moore for season 1 was kind of all right. I don't think they're going to make too many waves or anything.
That's an independent schedule, though, man. They played New Mexico State. They played, They
Hey,
played, I don't know how many.
Man, go easy on them. You know how much they've struggled in the past few years. Let
I
them
get
have
it.
that.
I get it. But you know something?
I think the Big 12
Yeah.
would take it though for the basketball.
Is
I'm
it
just
because
saying.
of
I think that's
that
what
whole skill
UConn would
conflict
be.
thing? Is that why you can't respect them?
Here's the thing that I thought was interesting. One of the other schools that was mentioned. This is according to Pete Thamel from ESPN. There were reports that the Big 12 representatives of the Big 12 were meeting with representatives from Memphis. Brett Yormark immediately came out and said, quote, and this is the quote, and I'm sorry I got this from Fan Nation, but this is what Yormark told Pete Thamel, quote, I've never met with anyone at Memphis about adding them to the Big 12, nor have I been on campus. A report said that a Big 12 delegation that included Yormark flew into Memphis and conducted a, quote, under the radar, end quote, visit to see campus facilities and meet with city officials and some of the school's regions. And man, that's a pretty forceful denial by Brett Yormark.
That's a burial. I've never been there.
It's one of two things. Either A, you're trying to make sure you cover up the fact that it was under the radar, or if you didn't visit, you'll be like, hey, don't be, spreading misinformation about that. But I mean, I think if it shows anything is that I think the expansion is going to happen with how many rumors we've been hearing about all this. I think it's just a matter of who it's going to be, and I don't think we're going to get any word on that until either June 30th or maybe sooner. I mean, who knows?
Or maybe not at all. Maybe not at all. I think one of the things that we might, there's a non-zero chance that we don't see any movement at all. Because the one thing that everyone, and I guess we'll kind of wrap on this, the one thing that everyone is waiting on right now is the Pac-12's media deal, which has not been finalized yet. We don't know what's in it. We don't know who it's with. I don't even know if the Pac-12 knows. And if it's bad, that's when you might start to see panic set in out west. On the other, then there's also, we were looking at the ACC, right? I mean, there was that whole flap with what would they call it? The Magnificent Seven, who were trying to see if they could scotch the grant of rights. They're locked up to 2036. The Big 12's media deal is through 2030. And sometimes it's just about timing. I mean, I don't know I don't know what could happen next or if anything could, but I was just interested in, I do think Memphis as a program is very serious about trying to get into a Power 5 conference. And what we know about that, they unveiled the facilities improvements they were making. Basketball is set for them. But they unveiled that massive upgrades that they were planning on doing to the Liberty Bowl, which, by the way, looked awesome, I should say. Yeah. I'll see if I could find it here. But they are dead serious about that. I'm trying to pull it up, see if we can, because you know how I am. I like to show and not just tell. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking at this, or no, that's not it. Hang with me here just a second. I'm trying to pull up a new image. I know. Stop it. But here it is. Here's the plans for the Liberty Bowl. I mean,
it looks nice.
That's nice.
I mean,
that's nice. I mean, Memphis is a fun destination to go to on the road. It is.
It's a party city.
So, I don't know.
Name it. I think the best trend you can see that I've noticed a trend now with proposed stadium upgrades over the past few years. It's been awnings. Camping World Stadium.
Yeah, shade is good if you don't have a dome.
Why do you think the Jaguars want a dome?
That's going to be fun. I'm sure USF is going to want a dome for their new on-campus stadium, which I guess is happening now apparently.
Which I guess it is happening. There was that report that came down that apparently they approved it. 340
a lot of money.
$1 million that they're going to listen. Hey, you know what? Good for them.
Hey, Nick, you were there. You remember when we were at the USF Track and Field Stadium covering the American?
Yes. Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
I saw that little map.
Oh, do tell.
So the on-campus
stadium, do tell. I need to know about this.
So the on-campus stadium, at one of the proposed places to build it, I saw from one of the reports I saw from, I believe, Matt from the Tampa Bay Times showed a aerial photo.
Matt Baker.
Matt Baker of where they would put it, and they would put it almost like to the northeast of the USF Track and Field Stadium, where Nick and I were most recently. There it is on screen right there. Where Nick and I were in kind of that bottom right area of the Track and Field Stadium, right around here. We were standing right here over during when we were covering the American Athletic Conference Track Championships, and so possibly in the near future, we would basically be standing in the shadow of what would be the future on campus stadium. I was joking with Nick about hey, it's like, I want this is an interesting football practice field. I wonder where the stadium is. Oh wait, and now it looks like it's going to end up being right there.
Yeah. They're going to knock
$340 million, and they're planning on they're trying to figure out how they're going to deal with $200 million in debt that they're going to need to actually build this thing. But you know something?
Enjoy your one-win football team's new stadium.
Good luck. Congratulations. Hey, listen, if they get it done, good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for the state of Florida.
Yeah. We said that the war and I think I remember saying
good for
the war and I-4 rivalry. We're going to put it
stadium.
If we're going to put the war on I-4 to rest for right now, but Jeff, you mentioned, Jeff, how much you value it, and but I think the other side to that was, we've said it before, is USF needs to get good.
They got to get good
to do that.
They got to get good, and and as far as I'm concerned,
if you're turning into Eric.
Yeah, I mean,
yell, it's not a rivalry.
Maybe it's the whole I kind of have Power 5 senioritis now.
I mean, it had been over. I still remember
where you came from, man.
In the fall, the fall of
last year. I know I shouldn't lose that, should I?
It was, or in the fall of 2021 or something
but
like
also
that.
Brag.
And it was fall of last year or something like that. And so it's been this very weird transition point where it's the anticipation has been building and building and building, and all of a sudden, we're bracing for impact. We're less than a month away. The final athletic year in the American is over. So
yeah,
the countdown. I know the countdown's been on for about a year, but now that there's no more athletic events to really talk about until then, the real countdown to the Big 12 is on.
Yep.
I'm trying to see if I can pull up. I want to pull up a countdown here. Let's see. We're 18 days.
Can we put a countdown on Twitter?
Yeah, I mean, here we are. We are July 1st, 2023. Maybe we should do that. Yeah, we are 18 days. We're under 1.5 million seconds. Under 25,000 minutes left until we join the Big 12. That's going to be something. So, all right.
Unless something else happens, I think Taylor Hendricks getting drafted will be the last great UCF moment of being in the American.
Quite possible.
That's it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's going to do it for us here on Night Shift Live. We appreciate everyone who joined in with us live today, sent in some questions and comments. We really do appreciate that. We will have this show in the podcast feeds, if you are wondering, probably some point tomorrow. It's late. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. But again, thanks to you guys, first of all, Bryson and Nick, for joining us today. Sorry we couldn't get Kyle Nash up in here. He had to go take care of something at home. But I promise we'll get them in. We're trying to get Drew in as well. Eric is watching the Florida Panthers.
Sorry, buddy.
It's been a rough couple days for Eric. With the Heat losing yesterday. And then
still have 15 less Stanley Cup final wins than the Lightning, Eric.
Hey, I mean, Who expected Miami Heat to even be there in the first place, though? I mean,
who expected the Florida Panthers to be there? It was much more likely to me that the Heat would get to the finals than the Panthers. But and no Matthew Tkachuk tonight. So
I mean,
6-1. Like he wasn't going to make that big of a difference.
Well, yeah.
I'm sorry. When you give up that many goals, you can't use Tkachuk as an excuse.
Yeah, I just think I mean, just breaks my heart.
Yeah, man. I don't feel bad for the Panthers.
I know it does. Yeah. Well, you know what?
why are we sad, guys? We're going to the Big 12. Why are we being sad? We have
Lightning fans always got to rain on the parade, man. Lightning fans always got to rain on the parade. So,
look,
all right,
we got the big.
We got to go.
All sorts.
We got to go.
They have to know their place.
Summer guys.
We got to get it. They are here.
I'm not ending on the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm ending on, make sure you go to blackandgoldbanneret.com for all the latest content that we're going to have for you throughout the summer. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, on Android or Apple platforms. Follow us on Twitter as well. I'm at Jeff_Sharon. Bryson is at It's Bryson Turner. And, of course, Nick is at Nick Porcelli, too. Make sure you follow Statboy Drew, the SOTG for Kyle Nash, Eric Lopez, Elo for Eric, and all of us here on Black and Gold Banneret, and NightShift. Thanks for joining us for NightShift Live. Let us know how we did on this. I know it was a little bumpy. That's okay. We're trying something new, so bear with us. We're going to try, like I said, we're doing new stuff. We're going into the Big 12, so we're going to try and do this, recording the podcast live, getting your questions in, and then also you guys, and then also putting it on the podcast feed. So we'll see how it works, and hope it worked for you, and I promise we'll do better. We'll do even better the next time. So on behalf of all of us here at Black and Gold Banneret and NightShift, and for Nick and Bryson, I'm Jeff. Thank you so much for watching and listening. All the best. Enjoy the week. Go Knights. Charge on. See you.